Hi everyone, welcome. These two bins have been buddied up for 320 days. Well, they're not even buddied up. They were launched on the same day. So they're brother bins or sister bins or however you want to think about them. And it was 5 days ago that we made the decision to let one go one way and let the other one go the other way. For the most part, it was only because bin number 1, which is officially a done deal now. This is now classified as simply holding castings or storing castings, no worms left in there. We moved them out 5 days ago because we knew that the migration of those worms was complete already, but I had been checking in regularly and knew there were still worms in this stuff, so between the last time, I think it was, I don't know, maybe a week ago that we gave this thing an aeration, then it was maybe 3 days ago I was back in here to do the same. I can't tell for sure because I'm not a fortune teller and I don't have a crystal ball, but my guess is that the worms are probably moved out by now. So I'm all set to bring it into this system as well now, haul the worms out, and we're going to be doing something very similar to the worms that came out of bin number 1. The worms in bin number 2 are also going to get moved into a yellow bucket. So we started bucket number 1 as a kind of a long-term set it and forget it themed system in which we built the worm bucket out of twine, and the game plan for this one to also be a set it and forget it themed system, and this one's going to be built out of cotton, all cotton stuff. Maybe we'll throw a little paper in there when we add the food, and that's going to be my other set it and forget it system, twine, cotton. So I'm going to do the haul out now. Well, maybe we'll start with building this thing up because we got to add food, moisture, grit. Yeah, let's get that done first. Once again, we've got our trusty haul out tray, with which we'll transport the worms to their new home. And the last time I came in here to stir the vermicompost and aerate it, I didn't really take the time to peek to see how the horizontal migration feeding zone was doing. I might have just kind of reached in and verified that the moisture level seemed right, which it still does. Plastic was doing a terrific job keeping everything protected over there, whereas out here, uncovered, the material's been left to dry. Okay. Yeah, well, I was intent on getting this job done today, and I think the only thing that remained an unknown was whether or not I might want to deploy my bait box in the end. And, well, I guess that does warrant a quick inspection of the material. When we did the haul out of the worms from tray number 1 5 days ago, I had already, on a couple occasions during check-ins and aerations, observed how there had been no worms remaining anymore in tray number 1. Tray number 2 has repeatedly shown worms, even last time when I came in here to aerate. But at that point, I have to say, it definitely felt like it was getting close, and there were very few worms in the material too. And I mean, unless I missed one, I'm pretty sure I saw no worms throughout that entire inspection of all this material out here. And I guess that first thing that we encountered over here, this little pile with worms hanging out in it, I'm not sure what it is that's drawing them to this little section over here, but I guess we'll just see how good we did otherwise and sort of excavate the horizontal migration feeding zone's little divider wall there. And you know, I don't have to be greedy about my harvest. I can leave a lot of this material, not a lot of it, but I can leave any of this material that still has a good many worms in it to just go with the worms and be part of their landing party in the new environment. So I guess all I'm really trying to do is nail down in my mind whether or not I feel the need to deploy a bait box. Here and there we're grabbing a couple worms now out here on the surface. I don't know if I might have just scooped some of them up with those last few scoops of material that I excavated off the edge there. Perhaps I could have just kept this material worm free if I had not done that. Although I think just by spotting those couple little guys and us checking through this stuff here, I think we're in good shape. Well, it's not like being left behind in the castings is a horrible thing either, because the stuff is still got a lot of organic matter in it, and it's not going to be left to go completely dry. And in some point in the near future, it's going to be outside, used for gardening. So getting caught up in that stuff isn't a death sentence. It's just a slight change from the old way of living. And I guess a departure from the family. But I don't think these little guys recognize that sort of stuff or sweat it. So why don't we treat that as our harvest? Let's also treat that as not being in need of a bait box. No need to try to bait worms out because we observed none. The couple that we accidentally slid onto the top of the pile over there, we pulled them off, returned them with the rest. So what we're looking at here is a nice harvest, which I'll play with later and get this stuff into storage. At this point, the only thing we've really got to take care of is getting these little guys out of here. Okay. Now, just like always, I'll be doing this in a slightly methodical way, in large part due to the fact that I'm trying to give everyone a nice view of what we're doing here, and more importantly, a view of how many worms we're dealing with. So, at the end, after we release them, when we'll get another view of them, I'll be asking all the viewers, that means you, to chime in with your estimate. How many worms are we deploying here today into bucket number 2 with the cotton? And then what I do with the estimates of all the viewers that participate is I do some quick math on the numbers, you know. That includes my estimate being thrown in there as well with the rest of them to come up with an average. And that becomes the official worm population, worm count for the system. So we've almost got them all out. Each handful has had a huge number of worms in it. I definitely saw leftover banana peel. This might even be part of a banana stem. The last thing we fed them, at this point I don't even remember how long, maybe 10, 12 days ago, was a cucumber. And that's pretty much almost purely liquid, so I doubt that we would have seen any leftovers of that. But it doesn't matter. To accompany the yummy banana peels that are waiting for them in their new home, they've still got some leftovers that they can continue polishing off up until they feel comfortable enough to move on out, venture into the cotton, and make themselves at home in their new interesting bedding. So, I think we've got them all. I think I only see maybe another handful's worth of worms over here in the corner. Is that one like right there? Don't worry, I'll take another closer look. I'll probe through this edge material here with the assumption a couple little guys might have snuck by. We won't leave anyone behind, or at least we'll try our best. So, on to releasing these little guys into their new home. So now I'll admit I did start picking through that stuff a little bit after the camera stopped rolling, and I did still spot a couple worms hanging out in this stuff, and I picked them out. And it made me wonder if perhaps running a running a bait box might not be a bad idea. I mean, it's not a lot of effort. Try to round up any stragglers that might be in there. So, banana, grit, plenty of bedding, cardboard, paper, leaves sprinkled on top, but otherwise a whole bunch of cotton material, old clothing, worn clothing, and a fair bit of water. That was almost about 3/4 of a gallon that you saw me pour in here. So gave the system a good bit of weight. But at this point, it's time to let these little guys loose in their new home. And remember, leave a comment. Let me know, how many worms do you think we released into here? I look forward to hearing everyone's input. Now, let's try to spread these guys a bit out so you can see them better. And I'm reminded of one last final thing we need to do. Let me go prep for that, and I'll be right back. Oh yeah, and while you're writing that estimate and you're putting in your guess for how many worms you think live in here, don't forget this little guy. Found him in the transport container. So you could up your estimate by 1, but that pretty much makes it official. I know we didn't do this in bucket number 1, but here I think just because of the amount of leftover food that seems to have come with them from the horizontal migration feeding zone, I figure let's at least cover it up a little bit. At this point, they'll be getting no other bedding of this sort. No more paper, no more cardboard, no more leaves. At this point, the only bedding in town, the only game in town as far as bedding goes is all that lovely cotton fabric down below. And just like we did in bucket number 1, I've got a piece of cardboard to cover up with and a piece of bubble wrap to cover up with. And I think if we start feeling that perhaps the protection that this gives is insufficient, we might come up with something that covers better. But for now, I'm going to see what we can do as far as letting this go like this. But before I can let you go, before we finish things, just a quick reminder, don't forget to leave that comment. Let me know what your estimate was, but please also help me welcome the newest system here in the wormery. Interesting little system. Hopefully they like cotton, because that's the only game in town as far as bedding goes. And you know, my idea for these was to be sort of a set it and forget it setup, so you know, kind of let weeks go by. So we'll be trying to feed in such a way that there's plenty to tie them over for longer periods. But that's kind of what I was thinking for these 2 yellow buckets. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you left a comment too. And if you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before I go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.